Hello, welcome to the new week and new episode of NHL Best Bets. Yesterday there were a lot of sports action, NFL conference finals, and also a handful of NHL games. We started with a few picks, but unfortunately those were not correct this time. Games were quite entertaining, if you would say so, especially the Winnipeg Edmonton game that we picked. And how do you see it, Tommy? Was this a good bet, or was it something that you would mulligan next time, that you won't do this Edmonton Winnipeg pick?
There are no mulligans in betting, so no, I definitely would make the bet again. It was a very even game in the end. Of course, Edmonton now managed to score some goals. Winnipeg did start now Laurent Brossoit in goal instead of Connor Hellebuck, so a little bit of a surprise there for us. We had Hellebuck simulated in there, so it's one of the reasons why we had Winnipeg. But also Winnipeg scored. Well, they did score 4 goals, one of them disallowed by the challenge. So only in the end it was when Jets finally succumbed to Edmonton. So in a couple of last minutes, and of course the winning goal then in only 1 second left of the period. So again, one of these games that could have gone either way with the odds that we got for Winnipeg at home. I think it was a good bet, but just unfortunate this time. And good luck to Edmonton, because they did need their win from this game. In the other one, how do you see this Calgary-Toronto game?
I think that was pretty even game. Calgary couldn't finish maybe as high rate as our simulations thought, but like I said, if the game is end result something like 3-2, 2-3, it's usually 50-50 game regardless who is going to win. And Calgary, maybe the Saddle Dome curse is still there and they couldn't pull the home victory, but still I think it's a pretty even team matchup between these two. Or was there some late minute changes because of the goalies in our simulations?
Yeah, that's the other game where the goaltender change affected a little bit the final simulation. So Toronto started Jack Campbell in goal, who is actually playing better at the moment than Frederick Anderson is. So that was a very close call. We had it in margins like 0.01 percentage compared to the odds for Toronto in the end. But that doesn't really count, because the simulations have always a little bit of a margin of a percentage or there. So I still think that Calgary was a good pick, despite of the goaltender changes in Toronto. They should have won the game. They shot well, actually in the end they shot only one shot more on goal than Toronto, but still they had periods of puck possession in the offensive end that they should have scored goals. And of course, then Toronto was, like you said, really efficient in scoring chances, and of course scored on power play once. And also, of course, their offensive heavy team, when you let them play in your end, you're gonna suffer. So that's what Calgary at times allowed them to do. So you have to break their offensive circle in order to defend better. 2-3 score, like you said, extremely even game. So probably would make this bet as well, even if the Saddle Dome seems to be an impossible place for the Flames for some reason now.
Yeah, I think that's something that we maybe need to take further consideration every time when Calgary plays at home, because they are the only team in NHL that has better win percentage on the road than the home. But there were a few other games that were quite interesting. Some of these underdogs on the road came and beat the favorites at home, one of being LA Kings here, and they won St. Louis that really have struggled to defense in some of these matches. How do you see, is that only one-time blunder here in St. Louis, or something to be more concerned?
Yeah, after they lost to Colorado, the heavy 8-0 loss, we were pondering that it's probably just some sort of resetting that they're looking for. They're trying to find out the way to play the defense a little bit better. But now again against Los Angeles Kings, which is not exactly the most powerful team in their division, and they allowed 6 goals, lost quite clearly that game. It's a little bit worrying because the Blues game is based so much on the defense and so much on the whole team playing defense efficiently that now they can't do it. Are they able to win games? Because losing to Kings, for example, is not something that they can do in the long run. So they need to compete with the likes of Avalanche and Las Vegas rather than the Kings and the Anaheims here. So it's a bit worrying, but there is still time, less than 10 games played in the season. So more than 3/4 left. So there is time to get it better, but they definitely need to work on their defense. They've been scoring goals in an okay rate for their team. They're not expected to outscore the opponents massively. They just expected to keep their own end clean.
Yeah, I agree that it's always surprising when LA Kings come to your home arena and score 6 goals against team that should give up maybe 1, maximum 2 goals in a games. Then there were a few other games. Teams from Southern California were performing pretty well. Anaheim won Colorado at home. And then one game that we discussed earlier yesterday, Arizona played against Vegas. They had some value in our simulations, but we didn't pick up them because the strong team of Vegas, and Vegas won 1-0 at the end. So that was a wise choice from our side. But how about our other value games from the simulations? Were some of those correct?
Yeah, we did have, for example, now Washington Capitals hosting Buffalo Sabres in the second round. They were without their Russian stars again. The previous time we had Washington winning that despite of those absentees. Now we had Buffalo to win it, not by a lot, but a slight percentage there. So they won 4-3 after the overtime. So it was a correct pick. This time also Buffalo was favorites by the odds, but a little bit more favored by the simulation. So it was a good big pick there. And of course, then our underdog favorites always, Chicago Blackhawks. Now, of course, playing even worse team, Detroit Red Wings, but we had them quite clearly taking the points, and they did 6-2. Much praise goes to the Chicago goaltender Kevin Lankinen, of course, a Finnish guy. Did you have some words for him here?
Yeah, I think he has started to win the games, and of course that's most important thing in a hockey. So maybe he can improve his game still. But I think the prediction of the day yesterday was that he would be the Blackhawks legend in 10 years if he continues to play like this. He's a world champions goalie in Finland, so he has some kind of pedigree there that he could build a good case in Chicago if he keeps improving like this. And I must say that Detroit, even though they won a few games at the beginning of season, they were looking a bit lost in the game. There were players like Mr. Mantha, who was watching a few goals in very short distance, doing nothing there. So I think they have not very big chances to reach playoffs, but also a lot of work to do in order to win at least a handful of games.
Yeah, that's something that Detroit really needs to work on. They are really, really loose on the ice, and it's easy. A lot of easy goal scoring chances for Chicago already. And in all fairness, Chicago is not maybe the best team of their league either. But have to say about Lankinen is that the goaltender situation in Chicago was such a mess to start the season that it's already stabilizing a little bit, and it helps the team perform when you actually know that, okay, this guy might be winning games for us, this guy is starting for us constantly. So it's a very good thing for Chicago and for, of course, the young guy Kevin Lankinen now making his debut in the NHL level. Have to mention also from last night, the other game that you mentioned as well, Anaheim hosted Colorado, of course, won the game, but there was again the one that we picked up for being very low scoring. And like we said, this is something that Anaheim is doing, is trying to break the opponent's game. This time it was enough for a win, but also really low scoring game compared to the other games and compared to the lines. So we had that almost 70% of under in simulation. So of course, exactly the goals went exactly the wrong way than we would have predicted, but still a clear under there. So keep an eye out on these a little bit underdog teams, especially at home, playing good defense. They're hard to break down, like we now saw from Anaheim and also from Los Angeles Kings. So of course that game was a clear over then, but Los Angeles Kings played a good defense there.
Yeah, I think it was very stingy defense in Anaheim because Colorado outshot them 33 against 15 in that game, so more than 2-1, and still the goal was 3-1 for Anaheim. So maybe not the best evening for the Colorado goalie and defense, but they are the team that is living by the offense, and naturally they made few shots, but quality wasn't there to score more than Anaheim.
Yeah, it's something that Colorado has had some issues this season, like we discussed earlier when they were facing St. Louis Blues, was the similar sort of thing that if they manage to break the defense, if they manage to get the first quality scoring chances, they're impossible team to beat because of the offensive prowess. But also it is apparent that they are not easy to box out, but it's something that the teams are able to do. Like now Anaheim showed that if you play really disciplined defense all the time, your goaltender of course needs to take the easy ones, but other than that, then Colorado must find some sort of philosopher's stone to turn these opportunities into goals.
Yeah, today there is only one game in the schedule. Ottawa is playing at Vancouver. I don't know who has made this schedule because it doesn't make too much sense for regular sports fan. Yesterday there were, like I said, NFL conference finals, and at the same time more than 10 ice hockey games. Today there's one game. Tomorrow there's 14 games. Then on Wednesday there's again 2 games, and then Thursday I think 15 games. So for bettors a bit uneven evenings, but before we go to this Ottawa-Vancouver game, let's have a quick recap of the season simulations that we have done and review where those teams that are currently in the playoff spots are in our simulation. So right now, Central Division, there's quite a few games missing from Dallas and Florida. There is some teams have played 6, some teams that have played 2, but there is Tampa, Columbus, Chicago, and Dallas who are in playoff spots. And what is our simulation showing which teams are going to the playoffs?
Just a second, I need to open this another one. I had the old one open. I think in that division we are still doing the same as we were before the season. So the teams that we deem to be the top teams should be there. So Carolina and Nashville should be coming into the playoff picture. Of course, now there is Columbus and Chicago. Correct me if I'm wrong here, because I have the older schedule here open. So those teams, of course, it's only been 5 games played for Nashville, 3 games only for Carolina. So still very, very close battle there for the playoffs. Tampa Bay also 4 games played at 6 points at the moment on top of the league. So as we can see, it's really close. Detroit with their 6 games and 4 points are still somewhat in the contest. So in this division, it's all really open. But I do believe that our simulations have it pretty accurately predicted here, with Carolina improving and Nashville coming off their slump. They've now lost 3 straight, but of course, a lot of hockey left to be played.
How about then East? I think our simulations show that there is Washington, Pittsburgh, Boston, and Philadelphia nowadays. So our preseason surprise pick, New York Rangers, is dropped out from the simulation playoff spot. And when we take a look of the standings, they are dead last in the division. And Washington, Pittsburgh, Boston are the ones currently sitting on a playoff spot, together with New Jersey, that is the number 3 in the division right now.
Yeah, that's one of the divisions that we deem to be very close, not only at the top, but also in the playoff contest, and also the worst teams of the division, Buffalo and New Jersey Devils, probably were deemed to have a lot of potential and could have a chance to upset the big teams on top, like Washington, Boston, Pittsburgh. And then, of course, we had Philadelphia Flyers winning the whole thing, which is still possible. They're now outside of the playoffs, but again, a lot of hockey left to be played, and they've showed some promise, certainly. For example, in the first games against Pittsburgh Penguins, that they showed that they are able to compete. What comes to Rangers, of course, been a bit disappointing. Like we've been picking them a couple of times and losing their games, but they've found interesting ways to lose. They've lost clearly, they've lost very, very narrowly. They lost after being in the lead. They've lost after climbing back to the game after losing for 2 goals. So they've done it all now, and maybe it's time for them to start finding ways to win as well. It's a young team. It's still a process, but still you have to be performing a little bit better in order to get to the playoff spot in this division.
Yeah, let's see when they start to perform, because that hasn't been in a place so far. Then
if we start betting against them, and they will.
Yeah. Then when we go to the Scotia North Division, there is one surprise team top of the standings, at least based on our simulations, and next 4 teams are the ones that we predicted to the playoffs: Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Calgary. But Montreal is leading the division, and still our machines don't like the guys in Montreal, because they are not too convinced after these 6 games with 4 wins, 2 overtime losses. And I think Montreal is only team currently, together with Washington, that have played over 3 games and don't have any losses on regular time so far.
Yeah, that's true. Montreal has been the surprise team, definitely. We didn't see them gaining a lot of points this early on the season. Of course, they have faced Edmonton, they've faced Vancouver, so the teams that they kind of were supposed to be able to win, but definitely done better than the simulations indicate, done better than I personally would have thought of them doing. But it's a young team as well. They have enough of the veteran presence, though. They have Carey Price, Shea Weber, and a couple of forwards who are able to score goals. But the young guys have definitely lifted their game, and it's a difficult team to play against again. So Montreal might be doing well. We might have to take a look at the simulations at around after 10 games have been played. So if they are still overperforming, make some adjustments. But let's see, at this point, it's still too early to say if this is to last, or is this just sort of starting stuff that will then decline a little bit. From the other teams, of course, we had Edmonton a little bit better than now, but they are up and down roller coaster as we pretty much predicted. They are able to win a lot of games straight in a row, so they might be doing these sort of streaks as well during the season, especially if they're facing the same opponents for many nights. Other than that, I think we are pretty much where we're supposed to be with the predictions. How do you see this Northern Division going?
Yeah, Yeah, I think otherwise than Montreal, our predictions are pretty aligned. Vancouver and Ottawa are the two bottom teams there that we predicted as well, that they are not maybe going to playoffs, and now when they are playing tonight, at least one of them will get 2 points. Then if we go to the West, Toyota division or Honda division, and there basically things haven't, there hasn't been any surprises so far when we think about top 4 teams. Vegas, Minnesota, St. Louis and Colorado are the ones that we predicted to the playoffs. They are the top 4 right now. Naturally, it's very even. All the teams have played 6 games, and the 4th position is basically tied with Colorado, Kings, Ducks and Sharks. So all those 4 teams have 6 points. So it just shows how even this NHL is today, that all these, let's say, lower quality and bottom teams can in any given night win the top teams, and that is maybe a bit surprise, but when you look the statistics and think about long run, it can happen when the probabilities are more than 1%.
Yeah, everything's possible at this in these weird times, and definitely with this schedule. Of course, when you play only within your division, you keep losing points to your rivals and you keep winning points from your rivals. So every game matters a lot more than it would in a normal regular season. So this is what explains also these very even divisions we have here, especially in the West. It's interesting because that was the division that we predicted to be quite clear. Top 3, then Vegas, Blues and Avalanche, they're taking the top 3, and then a little bit more even with Minnesota, Arizona, maybe San Jose coming up if they manage to find their not last season's form, but the season before, which they haven't so far. They've shown some signs of improvement, but still a lot to do there in California.
Yep, it's interesting to see now. I think Vegas performance has been quite steady, and then St. Louis, like we discussed, have struggled a little bit defense. Colorado struggled a little bit on offense, so how they will keep up with Golden Knights would be the story here. And if some of these teams that haven't predicted top 4 will make a push for the playoffs later this season. But at the end, let's pick up at least one bet for tonight, because, like I said, there is only one game, and Ottawa goes to Vancouver. They continue their road trip. Vancouver continues to play at home. They lost 2 out of 3 games against Montreal, but now it looks like simulations like them, and we also think that Vancouver should bounce back first out of these bottom teams of the North Division matchup.
Yeah, we see them winning in the simulations for 63%, which is about 5% more than the odds indicate. So the odds of minus 132 for Vancouver. They're pretty good odds for a home team, a lot better team than Ottawa, if not one of the better teams in the Northern Division this season. But still, I think Vancouver has a lot more potential than we've seen now in these couple of games against Montreal. So they should be able to beat the Senators quite comfortably. Senators, of course, have, like Vancouver, a young team, a little bit within a rebuilding phase still. Not entirely sure what's their long-term plan in Ottawa, but they are still not that competitive, whereas Vancouver definitely, especially the top 2 lines, have shown that they are definitely elite level in NHL. So I see this quite a clear win for Vancouver at home.
Very good. We'll concentrate on this single game tonight and see how that goes. Tomorrow there's, like I said, 14 games, so a bit more to pick up, and also quite a bit more to bet at the end.
Yeah, tonight's going to be an easy one, and then after that, not so much.
Very good. we'll catch up tomorrow again.
See ya.